All right, let's dive into the story of a truly legendary piece of software. I'm talking about a tool that basically handed the power of C++ to the masses and honestly inspired a whole generation of coders. We are, of course, talking about the story of Turbo C++. So, does this look familiar? For so many programmers, this iconic blue screen, this is where it all started. If you know, you know. But hey, if you've never seen this before, stick around, because you're about to find out why this simple blue screen was an absolute game changer. Okay, so what was Turbo C++? Well, think of it as an all-in-one kit from a company called Borland. It gave you literally everything you needed to write code, compile it, and run it. But here's the key part. It wasn't for the big corporate pros. Nope. This was built for students, for hobbyists. It was the accessible, friendly version of their much bigger, more complex professional software. Now, to really get why this was such a big deal, we've got to jump in a time machine. Let's go back to the early 90s. We're talking about the world of MS-DOS, right? Just a blinking cursor on a black screen. Programming tools back then were, let's just say, not very user-friendly. They were clunky, complicated, and super expensive. And then, bam! May 1990 rolls around, and Turbo C++ version 1.0 hits the scene. All of a sudden, if you had a PC at home, you could get your hands on a C++ compiler that was fast, powerful, and didn't break the bank. It just completely changed the game. It took professional-grade power and put it right into the hands of regular people, students, tinkerers, you name it. And what came next? Oh, it was nothing short of a golden age. Through the 90s, Borland was innovating at a wild, breakneck speed. They just kept making Turbo C++ better and better and more powerful. I mean, the pace here was just nuts. Think about it. Only 1 year after it launched, version 3.0 comes out and introduces templates. This was a huge deal. It meant you could write one piece of code and have it work with all sorts of different data, numbers, text, whatever, without rewriting everything. By 93, it was solid, and by 95, they were throwing in multimedia stuff and even games you could learn from. It was just constant, rapid evolution. And we're not talking about small, minor updates here. These were massive innovations. C++ templates, they became a fundamental part of the language itself. Then you had things like Borland's inline assembler, which let you drop in super optimized, low-level code right into your C++ for a serious speed boost. The Object Windows library, they called it OWL, made building apps for the newfangled Windows 3.0 so much easier. Borland wasn't just playing catch-up. They were literally pushing the boundaries, even getting into crazy advanced stuff like template metaprogramming. It's like teaching the compiler to write some of the code for you. Wild stuff for the time.
But, as the software got more and more powerful, Borland had a big business decision to make. They realized they needed to split their products to cater to two completely different crowds. And so, starting with version 3.0, that split was official. If you were a C++ dev using their stuff, you now had a choice to make. Two paths forward. The plan was actually pretty smart. On one side, you had Turbo C++. It was going to stay the king of the hobbyists and students. Fast, cheap, and easy to get into. On the other side, you had Borland C++. That was the professional powerhouse, loaded with all the fancy optimizers, extra tools, and thick manuals that big companies needed. So after that golden age in the 90s, the Turbo name kind of faded away. Borland moved on to other things, and for a long, long time, it was quiet. But then, years later, it came back, a totally unexpected, nostalgic comeback. Yep, the year was 2006. More than a full decade after its heyday, the name Turbo C++ was back in the headlines. It was a huge surprise, and you can bet it got everyone who grew up with that blue screen talking. And check out the marketing slogan, the fast and easy way to start C++ development today. See, they were totally trying to recapture that original magic, that feeling of making programming easy and accessible for a whole new generation. So what was this new 2006 version really? Well, it was basically a stripped-down, C++-only version of their big professional suite, Borland Developer Studio. They even had a free Explorer edition, which was awesome, but the comeback didn't last. By October 2009, it was gone again. The revival was officially over. But look, the story doesn't just stop there. Just because it was discontinued doesn't mean it's over. The real story of Turbo C++ is its legacy. What people called a hobbyist tool
ended up leaving a massive, permanent mark on the entire world of software. When you boil it all down, its legacy is just huge. It showed the world that powerful tools didn't have to be locked away or cost a fortune. It democratized C++, giving it to countless students and self-taught programmers. That all-in-one IDE design, it's the blueprint for the tools we all use today. And its early push on templates was absolutely crucial for creating the standard template library, which is like a cornerstone of modern C++. And get this is probably the coolest part of its legacy. Borland, or at least the company that eventually bought them, has kept the history alive. You can actually go to their antique software website right now and download version 1.01. It's like a working museum piece you can play with. How cool is that? And that really brings us to a final thought, doesn't it? Turbo C++ was the launch pad for so many people's careers, for so many hobbies. It just makes you think, what was your Turbo C++? What was that one piece of old school software that just opened up a whole new world for you and kind of set you on the path you're on today?